Everybody to our monthly CBOT Breakfast Club. We will, I promise, meet in person very soon. The next event we're having is actually, we were talking about it before you popped on, is our first business networking event that's happening on May the 4th. So we should have made it Star Wars themed, I guess, but no, we don't do that. So we're really excited about that, but more excited about today, where we'll talk to Rhonda about some self-care and how that relates to your functioning at your work and your environment around you. So again, thank you for coming. And our objective today, obviously, so as we move into a new season and a new normal, it's so important to recognize the opportunity to pause. And I saw that word on one of Rhonda's posts the other day, is it's so important to pause and reflect really on who you were before the pandemic, during the pandemic and after, and how you're taking care of yourself, which influences all of the aspects of health to anything else that you're doing in your life. So I would love to introduce Rhonda Amour. She's a fellow Clarington Board of Trade member. She is a nutrition and lifestyle coach, as well as a personal trainer. And she represents real life and real coaching. And by that, she understands the demands on time for today's professional atmosphere, often feeling torn between career and home life. So nutrition and exercise often fall on the list last of her priorities, but her goal is to end that roller coaster of self-care, that demand on yourself, the shout of those internal voices that question your willpower, your capability and commitment from those programs that we haven't been supported in, all those different programs that kind of make us feel even worse at the end of it when you don't have the results that you're looking for. So her education and previous career in human resources blends her trifecta of coaching, nutrition, and personal training to offer physical, supplementary, and mental coaching approach to wellness. So her full life coaching style allows clients to partner with her in a holistic type of approach that satisfies those external pressures and those personal goals. So she develops a dynamic and very comfortable relationship based on honesty and trust. And she really enjoys working with those who are motivated, but a little stressed out and who are ready to live their best life. So I wanted to mention, I was sending out this invitation to a few people, and one person got back saying, she's a personal friend of mine. She's awesome. And she trained my husband and I. And I said, well, I better see you on Friday. So she's around. So she has a great clientele, but my favorite part is some fun facts about Rhonda. So I asked her, that's all great. That's very impressive, but let me know a few things that we can share that you guys can think about as well, and how you integrate that into your life. So she has done the mud run. So if anybody's done the mud run, that is really a really fulfilling feeling. And her biggest one was the Tough Mudder contest. When did you do that exactly? Well, I see pre-pandemic, maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Boy. That was probably 6 or 7 years ago.
6 or 7.
It was grueling. It was brutal, but so worth it.
But no regret. 18 kilometers?
It's 18 kilometers, and
that's crazy.
20 or 25 obstacles, and it took us about 4 hours to do. So yeah, yeah, you're like climbing ski hills, like uphill, not down, uphill. But yeah, it's so grueling. It tests you mentally too, right? Not just physically.
For sure. So my question is, would you do it again?
I would not do Tough Mudder again, but I have done other obstacle courses that are anywhere from 5 to 10K.
Nice.
And I plan to do one this summer, because now they're opening everything back up again. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Very good. And Rhonda, she said that she loves to travel with her husband and her kids, and they have a big trip to Portugal planned for next year. So that's really exciting. Plus, she loves peanut M&Ms. But she had to say in moderation.
Yeah.
In moderation, of course, but that's no fun if it's in moderation. So I am pleased to welcome Rhonda Amour to have a discussion with us, and I'll open it up to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Rhonda.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome and sharing some of my great and dirty little M&M secrets. Hey, we've all got something, right? So that's my thing, and I'm not ashamed of it. They're tasty and delicious. So again, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you everyone for getting up early on a Friday, but it's Friday, at least it's not Monday, so that's a good thing. As Bonnie said, I am a nutrition and lifestyle coach and personal trainer, but I am also a solopreneur. So I'm a one-woman show running my business, which I love. I came from the corporate world, so I'm happy not to have to report to someone else. I am the boss, which of course has its pros and cons, but I do love it. I'm also a mom of 2 teenagers, which is aging me, but I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, a sister. And the point is that it's busy, right? Life is busy. We have lots of competing priorities and things that pull us in different directions. And we're often really good at taking care of everybody else and everyone else and everything else. Except for ourselves sometimes. We fall to the bottom of the priority list. So I'm hoping today to be able to bring your self-care back up closer to the top of the priority list. And as Bonnie mentioned, spring is kind of a good time to be able to do that, although the weather isn't like super cooperative, but we're getting there. We're coming out of winter, which is great, which means we can hopefully get outside more. It's a great time to set some new goals for yourself around your self-care. Think of some new habits that you want to integrate in, and you know, the days are getting longer. Hopefully you can get outside a little bit more and get some fresh air, because it does amazing things for us. So I wanted to chat today a little bit about why your self-care matters to you, not just personally, you know, at home in your personal life, but in your business or in your career, why it's really important. I want to be able to give you some simple nutrition and self-care tips and sort of musts in my eyes for long-term success, and then hopefully some little strategic tips and tricks to be able to implement some of those habits. And then we'll have maybe some discussion at the end if people are willing to share what's important to them around their self-care. So when we talk about self-care, what does it even mean, right? It's kind of a term that gets thrown around. And self-care really is the practice of taking an active role in protecting your own wellness and happiness. And the key word there really is practice, because it's not just, you know, as simple as implementing some new things and magically you're taking care of yourself, right? It's also not just a one-time thing. It's not like, you know, going to the spa for the day and then suddenly you're taking good care of yourself, unless you have the ability to go to the spa every day, which would be awesome, but that's probably not going to happen. So it's really the ongoing commitment that you make to yourself for your self-care, day in and day out. And, you know, time can slip by and then suddenly, you know, weeks have passed and we haven't eaten well, or we haven't, you know, been active and moved our body, or we're not sleeping well. So time can slip away. So self-care really is about taking care of yourself day in and day out. So I have a question for you, and just raise of hands, those of you that are on camera. Do you feel that you have the tools, knowledge, and strategies to put your personal health and wellness back on your priority list? Do you have the tools, knowledge, and strategies? Okay, some yes, some no. Yeah, okay, more yes than no. That's great. That's part of it, right? Sometimes I have clients that come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I know all the things I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's part of my job, is to help them get started with that. So when we're talking about self-care, what are we even talking about, right? We're talking about creating a lifestyle. And it sounds so cliche. We always hear that, right? It's a lifestyle, but it really is, right? It's an integrating these habits into your life that will actually stick, and trying to create a lifestyle out of these habits. And sometimes, to be honest, it's trial and error. So I want to encourage you to, you know, not get fixated on one thing or one way of doing something, you know, whether it's integrating, you know, healthy habits in terms of nutrition or exercise or sleep or stress management. There's always different ways to do things. And sometimes we just need to try different habits or different ways of integrating them into our world. The other thing is I want you guys living up to your fullest potential, right? I often see that people are not operating as well as they could be. They're not feeling the best that they can feel, because when we're not paying attention to our self-care, our body just operates at a specific level. We don't know any different, right? We get used to operating at that specific level. But as soon as we start taking better care of ourselves, all of a sudden we have more energy and that brain fog sort of clears and we start to feel really amazing. So I would encourage you to not to sort of be complacent in how you feel, knowing that you can feel better in your own body and in your own mind. The other thing is that there's no one size fits all approach. Bonnie alluded to in my intro about, different programs that maybe haven't served you in the past. There's no one size fits all approach. So what your neighbor is doing, or what your best friend is doing, or what your coworker is doing to eat healthier, to exercise, might not work for you, and that's okay. It's about trying to figure out what's going to work for you so that you can have sustainable habits in your life. The other thing is I want to encourage you to think about small goals and small habits. And I am talking really small, because sometimes we have these big ideas, I'm going to start really just like, I'm going to cut out sugar and I'm going to start exercising 7 days a week. And it's like, are you really? Probably not. Maybe for a week, and then it starts to disappear. So think about really small things, building small habits, and then you can build your momentum and motivation from there and make the goals a little bit bigger and the habits a little more grand, and go from there. I also want you to encourage you to not just think about the physical benefits of taking care of yourself. Oftentimes we think about that, right? Oh, I want to look a certain way, and I want to feel a certain way, in my body. But I also want you to think about the mental and emotional impact to taking care of yourself, because that's really important, especially right now, right? Where we're just, gosh, the last 2 years, I know we've talked about it endlessly, have been sort of a roller coaster ride. So mentally, us taking care of ourselves through nutrition and, like I said, moving our bodies and sleep and all those things will have an impact not only on us physically, but on us mentally as well. And then the other thing is, which we're also here to talk about, is I want you to be able to maximize your business or your careers if you're not self-employed, and be operating at your best while you're at work, and feeling great all day long. So question number 2 for you, and again, just a raise of hands. Do you believe there are consequences to your business or your career if you don't focus on your self-care? Do you think there are consequences? Raise your hands. Don't be shy. I'm not going to pick on you. Don't worry. Okay, so most people would agree that there are some consequences, right, to us not taking good care of ourselves with regards to our business. So I'm glad that we all agreed on that. The interesting thing to note is that even though we know that, it still sometimes doesn't move the needle for us, right? It still doesn't mean we're taking good care of ourselves, even though we know there are consequences to us not taking good care of ourselves. So that's kind of interesting, right? I actually had a client, now that I think about it, I'm sharing a story on the spot here, but I had a client I was speaking to a couple of days ago, and she is a business owner, and she was telling me the story of her getting her business up and running. And she said, I failed a million times. I got knocked down, but I kept getting up. And she said, failure was not an option for her. And it was interesting because she's really struggled with taking good care of herself, right? It's been a process for us. And I said to her, without judgment, right, why is it okay that failure was not an option for your business, but it seems like failure with regards to your self-care is okay? And she was like, oh my gosh, totally. I don't hold myself to the same standard as I do in my personal life and my self-care as I do with my business. And again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, is that we're all really good at taking care of everyone and everything else except for ourselves. And so that was kind of an aha moment for her, where she recognized that, the effort she's putting into her business maybe needs to, be spread out to her taking care of herself as well. So just an interesting sort of side note there. So we all agree, again, there's consequences, right, to us taking good care of ourselves. So why does self-care matter? What can we really benefit from if we start to take better care of ourselves? The first thing is that you're going to automatically increase your energy, right? We know that when we sleep better and we exercise and we fuel our body with really great things, we have lots of energy all day long. We're not, ready to sleep until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or we're not, crashing at 7 o'clock in the evening. We feel really good all day long. And that's what I want for everyone here. We're also going to strengthen our immune system, right? And I know we've all, been hiding, so we probably haven't been sick very much in the last couple of years, but we know that when we're not taking good care of ourselves, we are sort of sacrificing our immune system, and we end up getting sick a lot. And then you're missing work, or you're not functioning at your best. And that's not where we want to be either, right? We also, we can delay the effects of aging. I'm sure we'd all love to turn back the clock a couple of years maybe, but maybe we can slow the process down if we just start to take care of ourselves a little bit better. Enhancing our productivity, our creativity, our ability to make good decisions, our judgment, our memory, all of those things are linked to how we take care of ourselves. And at work, I'm sure you all want to be on the ball, and you want to be productive, and you want to be able to make good, solid decisions and have good judgment at work. And those things are going to be affected by what you're putting in your body, and how active you are, and how well you're sleeping, and how well you're managing your stress. So all of those things are important for those things related to work. And then, of course, we know that when we take better care of ourselves, it positively impacts our mood and our mental health. And we all want to be, happy and go lucky. And even if you don't love the job that you're in, we can at least, have a good approach and a good mental approach to it. And we all love when our coworkers are happy and in a good mood. It just makes it such a better environment for everybody. So another advantage to taking good care of ourselves. Okay, last question for you, I promise. Again, through a show of hands. Are there certain areas of your self-care that you would like to take better care of? Just a general question, whether it's nutrition, it's exercise. Is there something in your self-care that you can think of that you want to take better care of? Yes, Bonnie's got 2 hands up. She's like, yes, me. Yeah, I totally get it, right? So good. So everyone's got something that they could always do a little bit better, which is great to hear. So I want to run through a few things that I feel are really important with regards to our self-care. So get out your pens. So the first few things actually are kind of some soft things that I want to point out first, because they're sort of the baseline for everything else. The first is, and it might sound a little cheesy, but I want you to be patient and kind with yourself when you're trying to implement new habits. Again, we have these grandiose ideas and we think, no, I'm just going to push through, and I'm going to do this, and enough is enough. And then we get really mad at ourselves when we don't, reach our goals or think things are going to play out the way that they play out. And I just want you to slow it down, be patient, trust yourselves, and just be nice to yourselves. And listen to the way you're talking to yourself, because that goes a really long way. I see it all the time. My clients are like beating themselves up, and they're in this negative headspace, and that doesn't help you to move forward. Okay. The other thing is, I want you to think about, now this goes in conjunction with the small sort of goals and habits I talked to you about earlier, is I want you to think about just aiming for better. Just aim for better each and every day. And that just means incrementally better, right? So if you're working out once a month and now you work out once a week, that's better, right? If you eat 5 cookies every night with your tea and now you eat 2, that's better, right? It's better. So just think of it as that really small little changes. And then think about consistency, right? I am what I like to think of as a recovering perfectionist, although I'm probably still very much there. So I aim for everything to be perfect all the time, which doesn't play out very well. So I want you to think about being consistent versus being perfect with your habits, right? If you said, oh, I'm going to work out 5 days this week and you only worked out 4, okay, that's still amazing, right? So I want you to think about just being consistent and aiming for better. Okay. And then I want you to also think about, when you're integrating different habits, to think about setting yourself up for success. Okay. Instead of setting yourself up to fail, like I'm going to work out 7 days a week and then you don't, versus I'm going to work out 3 days a week and I meet that or I exceed it. Right. So a perfect example is, around, meal planning. And, I know it's a topic people are like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And I'm not going to sit here and lecture you about meal planning, I promise. But just in terms of thinking ahead, right? It's about being proactive, and thinking ahead about what you might want to eat in the week that could be healthy, and instead of winging it. We don't do a great job at just winging it, especially when we're all really busy. An example, right? Everyone here is busy in their jobs. If you were called on to, lead a meeting at work, and you didn't prepare for that meeting, the meeting's probably not going to go very well, right? So it's the same thing with your self-care. We have to think ahead. I want you to develop a little bit of a game plan from week to week on how these habits are going to be integrated into your life. So you need to develop a game plan so you're setting yourself up for success versus assuming that you're always going to make the good decision on the spot or in the moment, because unfortunately it doesn't work out that way with how busy and stressed our lives are right now. So really thinking about how you can set yourself up for success. Okay, so let's drill down just a little bit more. Obviously, we know nutrition is really important to how we feel every day in our bodies, how our brains operate. And again, I'm not going to sit here. Bonnie would kick me off eventually if I started talking to you too tremendously in depth about nutrition, because we would run out of time. But I want to give you sort of a couple little tips around nutrition that might help you to start to think about eating a little healthier. So we have all heard about proteins, we've all heard about carbohydrates, and we've all hopefully heard about healthy fats, right? What I would like you to encourage you to do is when you're putting a meal together, or even a snack for that matter, try to think about, do I have a protein source? Do I have a nice fibrous carbohydrate source? Do I have a healthy fat source? Because then you're going to have a nice balanced meal that is going to have us fueled all day long. Okay, that's what we want. So just to give you an idea of when I'm talking about protein, what we're talking about. So we're talking about, chicken, seafood, salmon, beef. We're talking about eggs, Greek yogurt, beans and legumes. All of those things would be our protein. Okay. When we're talking about carbohydrates, and they get a bad rap, right? Because it's like, oh, stay away from carbs, but they're your energy source, provided you're putting good carbohydrates into your body, right? So things like your whole grains, right? Things have not been stripped of the nutrients. So your whole grain breads and your whole grain rice and your whole grain pastas and your fruits and vegetables are your carbohydrates. So they're really good for you. So don't cut those out. We're talking about your potatoes and sweet potatoes. So those are great sources of carbohydrates as well. And then your healthy fats, which you might not be as used to hearing about. But one tip with those is if you're finding you're having difficulties making it from one meal to the next because you're hungry, healthy fats actually keep us feeling fuller longer. So you might want to think about integrating some healthy fats into your world. And what are we talking about with healthy fats? We're talking about all your nuts and seeds, right? Your pumpkin seeds, your chia seeds, your almonds, your cashews, all of those things. We're talking about avocado, extra virgin olive oil, olives, avocado oil, so those things, and they don't have to be in big, quantities, just small amounts added to your meals and snacks will go a long way. So again, when you're creating your meals and snacks, try to think about, where's my protein? Where's my good source of fiber and my carbohydrates? And where's my, where's my healthy fat coming from? And that will go a long way, again, to you creating balanced meals that are going to have you feeling good all day long. Okay. The other thing I want to just hit on really quickly around nutrition is sugar. Bonnie exposed me and said that I like the M&M peanuts, which is obviously just sugar, which I'm okay with, because I'm okay with everything in moderation, right? Sugar doesn't have us feeling good. We know when we overdo it on sugar, you might get a headache, you have that brain fog, you have gut rot, not feeling really good. And again, when we have too much sugar, our body just gets used to operating at that level. And we don't want you operating at that level. So cutting back, I'm not saying eliminating it, just cutting back on the sugar will go a long way with you feeling really amazing in your body. Okay. So that's my lecture on nutrition. Moving our bodies. And I say it like that because, sometimes it can be daunting to think about working out or exercising, right? I just encourage you to move your body. And like I said, spring is starting to sort of appear, and we can get out a little bit more. So that just means if you're even just walking a little bit more, that's helpful. But there's so many options. I often get asked, what should I be doing for exercise? What's the best thing I can do for myself? And I always say to people, do what you love, or at least okay, maybe you're not going to love it, but maybe you're going to like it, because then you're more likely to do it, right? So whether you like to jog, you like to bike, you like to lift weights, you want to hire a personal trainer, you like to do yoga, you want to join a fitness class, whatever you like to do, there's a million options out there, right? Pick something and try it out. Remember the trial and error thing, right? And see if you can manage to fit it into your life, right? But really pick something that you feel like you can sort of get behind and something that sort of excites you. I know exercise isn't on the top of everyone's list, but again, just moving your body. Even at lunchtime, if you have the ability to, step outside and go for a walk, you'll come back feeling like 10 times better than you did, before you left. So just think about moving your body as much as you can in a day. And it doesn't have to be, this is the other thing, I often have people come in and go, I don't have time to do an hour workout. And I said, that's okay. Like, who made up the hour rule, right? Like, you can break it into chunks. Maybe you do 15 or 20 minutes in the morning, and maybe you go for a quick walk at lunch, and maybe you do quick, something after dinner. It can be broken up into small, intervals to make it more manageable for you, so you're maybe not quite so overwhelmed with exercise. Sleep is really important, right? And oftentimes we tend to ignore sleep, or we say, oh, I'm just not a good sleeper. And I don't really believe that. I think that there's ways that we can improve our sleep. I know sometimes, whether there could be, health issues involved, and that's a totally separate thing to talk about. But we're really aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And I know that might seem like a lot. But again, remember, we talked about incrementally better. So if you're like, no, I get 5 hours of sleep, maybe you could aim for like 5 hours and 15 minutes to start, and grow from there. But sleep is really important, as is the next habit that I want to talk about, which is stress management. We're all obviously have lots of stress in our life, and sleep and stress management, I often feel, are sort of like the foundations to all the other habits that you want to integrate, because we know how we feel when we're sleep deprived, and we know how we feel when we're super stressed. And when those two things are not sort of in alignment, the ability to make good decisions around our food or our exercise or our hydration and things like that, they sort of start to fall to the wayside because we're just not at our best. And if we're not sleeping, or we're not managing our stress for an extended period of time, things like our cortisol levels, which again, I'm not going to get technical with you, but start to be released in our body. And the impact of that is that we have a compromised immune system, our metabolism slows down, our ability to assess our hunger and our fullness cues starts to go, we start to crave more things, we actually start to store more fat in our body when we're under like extended periods of stress and not sleeping for periods of time. So there's consequences, right, to us not sleeping and not managing our stress. So those two things are really, really important for us to start to pay attention to. For sleep, things like, having the same bedtime every night, waking up at the same time every day, creating a sleep environment that's comfortable for you, creating a good bedtime routine. All of those things can really go a long way to allowing yourself to sleep better at night. So just paying attention to it. Again, it's not going to be perfect. I know sleep is one of those things that, like, it's a tough issue if you do have issues with sleep, but at least let's not ignore it. Okay, it's important to have on your radar. Okay, so giving you a few of the habits in terms of strategy. We've talked about a couple things about talking or starting really slow and setting small goals. The other thing I didn't mention about your goals is when you achieve your goals, again, really small, right? Remember, 5 cookies down to 2 cookies, right? I want you to like celebrate and give yourself a pat on the back, and talk to yourself nicely about your successes, because I think that's important, to celebrate those things. Anytime we're able to, either reach a goal or when we're consistently integrating a habit. The other thing is I want you to think about creating a support system around yourself when it comes to your self-care. So, and this isn't just about, the practitioners in your life, whether it's, a naturopath or your doctor or your massage therapist, but, grab a friend, grab a family member, a coworker, someone from here, right? To say, what do you think about like partnering on trying to like encourage each other to do better with regards to our self-care? And that doesn't mean you need to be working towards the same goals at all. It's just someone to encourage you and create a little bit of accountability, and then you don't feel like you're sort of on an island by yourself. It's really, really what I do with my clients is we create this partnership where I'm their cheerleader, because sometimes they need that until they're able to become their own cheerleader. And I'm happy to do that, but knowing they're not alone really goes a long way. So create a support system around yourself, even if it's just one other person that's going to help you. The other thing I want you to think about 3 words when you're assessing what your goals are going to be and what your habits are going to be that you're going to kind of move forward with, is I want you to think about how ready you are, how willing you are, and how able you are. Because that matters, right? I want you to think like, how ready am I to do XYZ? How willing am I? You know, like if Bonnie said, listen, Ron, you got to give up the M&M peanuts, I'd be like, that's not happening, right? I'm not willing to do that. And that's okay. But if we're not honest with ourselves about what we're ready, willing, and able to do, then we're setting ourselves up to fail. So sort of doing that internal analysis, I think, is really important to be able to assess what you think is going to work and what's not, and what you're ready, willing, and able to do. I also want you to give some thought to what are some of the obstacles that might get in your way of sort of your best laid plans, right? What are the obstacles, like maybe at work, in your personal life, in your community, that not necessarily are going to stop you from achieving your goals, but things that might slow you down, so that when those things come up, you're like, okay, I knew this was going to happen, but I can handle this. And you can keep moving forward and progressing. And the last thing I want to say is I want to encourage you to be comfortable saying no or no thank you to things that don't serve you well, or people that don't serve you well, because that's okay, right? This is about creating boundaries for yourself and being a little bit selfish. You know, self-care is not selfish. I think it's okay to be like, you know what, this doesn't work for me, so no thank you. And just really being clear about what your boundaries are, so that you can make sure that your self-care is a priority, so that you're functioning well in your business, or in your company, where, you know, if you're an employee at a company, and in your life personally. So it's okay, you know, I'm giving you permission to say no thanks, and set those boundaries, because it's really important. And if you know, if there's anything that I can do to help you, I'm here to help. I know it can be a sort of a daunting task to say like, oh my gosh, where am I going to start with regards to my self-care? But I'm here to help in any way that I can, whether it's you guys or people that you know. So hopefully I was able to give you some, no pun intended, food for thought on some different habits you might want to, you know, start to zero in on, and some strategies around doing that. I know it's sort of high level, but at least maybe it's on your radar now, so that you can think about, okay, starting a new season here, let's start moving in a good direction, so that by summer we can really be feeling energized and awesome, so that we can really go out there and make the best of our summer. So thank you. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Well, that's really a tight little package there, Rhonda,
Yeah.
of information. Thank you so much. And boy, you know your stuff, that's for sure. And I was taking notes as well. If anybody has any questions at all, just unmute yourself and ask away. While you're thinking about that, I want to say thank you so much, Rhonda, for that. And a few points that you made really resonated with me about that being patient with yourself piece. And I think a lot of people put undue expectations on themselves to, you must do this, you must drink that shake every day, you must do this and that. And we let ourselves down. And so we just say, forget it, I'm just going to sit here. And saying no to yourself sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Just, you know what, I'm not going to do that extra assignment at 7 p.m. I'm gonna watch, you know, 90 Day Fiance or something. Right. So I do that. Terrible. Don't watch that.
No, I've watched it. It's awesome.
It's terrible, but awesome. Okay. I
know, right? I know.
Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. The way we speak to ourselves is super important, right? You like, especially around, you know, I find nutrition and diets, I'm like so anti-diet. I, you know, have my own history with diets and unhealthy behaviors, and that's probably why I'm doing what I do now. But the way we talk to ourselves, right? The language, oh, I can't, or I shouldn't, or I'm not allowed, or this is bad. It's not helpful, right? Instead of thinking of it as, you know what, that doesn't allow me to reach my goals. That doesn't have me feeling really good. That can really be a game changer, right? With how we talk to ourselves. So that patience piece too, is important. So it's a good reminder. It might sound, you know, again, like, why are we talking about this? But it's so true. We're so hard on ourselves, and sometimes I'm all for having the bar up here, like let's reach the bar, but sometimes it's okay to like knock the bar down a couple pegs and be realistic about what we can achieve.
So Rhonda, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wendy.
Rhonda, I had a question. So
Sure.
we're new to the Clarington area at East Pine, Canada, and we've had about 50% of our staff in the Clarington office, of course, have been working from home with alternate work arrangements. And over the course of the next few weeks, we're of course going to be bringing them back into the offices. So, I mean, many of them have probably, I'm assuming, have had an opportunity to sort of build new habits and
Right.
into their workplace. So I'm curious of whether you or anybody else on the group actually has any thoughts or ideas how, as an employer, we can help to support and encourage some of these healthy habits back into the workplace, to encourage them. Because what I'd hate to see is all these people coming back and then feeling that, you know, we've broken their sort of patterns, if you will. So how can we help to support?
Yeah. My first thought is, I think we need to talk about it, right? I think we have to like not ignore that, okay, everyone's back in the office and maybe they don't get an opportunity to, I don't know, well, maybe they do still get an opportunity to go for a walk on their lunch or whatever, but it's, I think having the conversations with the employees to say like, your wellness and your health and your self-care matters, and we want you to still focus on that. It just might have to change in terms of the habits. You know, if you're working from home, you have, you know, the ability to, you know, make a salad from scratch at home, or a sandwich from scratch, right? Or breakfast from scratch. And now they don't have that ability because now they have to bring their lunch to work. So I think that the first step would just be to keep the lines of communication open, to recognize that the employer puts in you know, a sense of importance on that for the employees. I know as an employee, I would feel like, oh, wow, they care that I can still take good care of myself, right? That would be my first thought. And then maybe there's opportunities to you know, bring in speakers to talk about different topics, or do workouts before, after, during work. You know, little things like that, little workshops and things can go a long way as well. I don't know. I know you kind of opened it up to the group too. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts in terms of the work environment, but talking about it would be my first thing to show that it's important.
Exactly. Maybe incorporate, I know everybody gets a lunch break, and making sure that they maximize their time in their lunch break. You know, don't fit in extra work. Make sure that to let them know it's important to take that time for yourself, so they're not, you know, always on, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that helpful, Wendy? Is there anything else we missed? Yeah.
Okay. It's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah, really good.
For sure. I think we may have some time just to go around
Yeah, awesome.
a little bit. And I'm sure you'd be interested, Rhonda, in hearing some, and everybody else can learn from everybody else about kind of what what you guys are what habits you have in place, or you would like to put in place, relating to anything exercise, sleep, nutrition, and what you do that other people might go, that's really cool. I might do that. I'll start with myself to just to kick it off is I can share what I've learned. What not to do actually is, oh, I'm going to take some time for myself and, you know, go on social media. That's bad. it's such a soul-sucking activity, and you think, you know, you have some time, you're going to kick back and just get that phone and just scroll. It really isn't helpful, and it kind of fills your mind with more stuff that you really don't need to fill your mind with. So I've learned to recognize that. I'm not sure how I recognized it, and that's another issue. How do you recognize you are not taking care of yourself, or that you know what I mean? Like, what things should you not be doing as well? But I've tended lately to put that phone down and kind of not scroll or post and everything else. So, and I find my mind is a bit more clear that way. So I'll go around and you guys share whatever you like. Let everybody know where you're from, and share one or 2 points with us. So Wendy, you're on my screen first, so I'm going to start with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I think, you know, you talked earlier, Rhonda, about so having a buddy system, and it's funny. I don't know if it's really so much as an official buddy system or if I'm just lucky to have great people around me, but particularly in the workplace, I have a tendency to just sort of start working, and before you know it, hours have passed and I haven't even stepped up away from the desk. So I've got a great team around me who will make the point of poking their heads in every once in a while if they haven't seen me up and around to say, have you eaten? Have you gotten your water? So I've really learned to rely on them. And when they come to me and prompt me, I sort of make a point of getting up and doing and thanking them for doing it. So that's really helped me. And so because I do a good job of encouraging others, I don't do such a good job of encouraging myself. But I really liked your thing about not making sort of these lofty goals. You know, you sit there and you say, yeah, I'm going to work out every day this week. And then you don't work out every day this week. Maybe you only work out twice in the week. And then it's like, I'm down on myself for that rest of the week because I didn't do what I wanted to do. So I think sort of the one thing I took away here was setting more sort of realistic goals and sort of celebrating those small incremental changes. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Wendy, for that. Bill.
I'll get off mute here. Well, last year, this time, about first year into COVID, I hopped on the scales and it said 1 at a time, please. So I'd gained a bit of weight. So I went on the keto diet for 6 months, just full bore, lost 30 pounds. But like you said, Rhonda, like diets, I mean, I lost my weight and then I changed my habits. So, you know, I'm more exercise, watch what I eat instead of Coke, you know, Diet Coke. So it's small things, but yeah, you can't beat yourself up.
That's awesome, Bill.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that, Bill. Tracy.
Hi there. This was a really good presentation, Rhonda, and you're right. It's so difficult. One thing I'm really grateful for at my workplace, which is the Participation House Project Durham Region, we're in social services, so we've been greatly impacted by, well, we've all been greatly impacted by the pandemic. But when you're caring for people who are vulnerable, who in congregate care settings, it puts a lot of pressure. Our staff have been great. They've had to work like long periods of time in order to keep everyone safe. You know, we implemented an employee wellness program now, a committee of employees, because it's fine for management and directors to push down what we think is important to employees, but it's important to hear from them what's important to them. And the majority of the administration has worked remotely from home throughout the last 2 years. And when it opened up again in the fall, and we were all required to transition back to work, a lot of us started experiencing anxiety, and that I was able to work out every morning when I was working at home. And because if I didn't shower and came onto a meeting with my screen off, you didn't know that, right? So I established some balance. And fortunately for us, since the last lockdown and we're transitioning back to the office again, our executive director has decided that we should only work in the office 2 days a week. We have established that we can manage working remotely, and therefore we can continue to have that work-life balance. Because even when you're working at home, you don't have work-life balance. You're on, every time your computer dings, you're checking your email and stuff. So yeah, it's difficult, and the negative self-talk. So I don't know, Rhonda, if you've seen that coffee self-talk. It's a 5-minute morning or 15-minute ritual, but it's about teaching yourself to speak to yourself positively or think positive thoughts. I bought it probably about 3 months ago and haven't picked it up yet, but or to read. But so yeah, setting goals that are attainable and reasonable. But this was a really great meeting. Thanks.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks for sharing that, Tracy. Pam from KX96.
Good morning. Thanks, Rhonda. That was excellent. So I don't know if I've shared this before, but during COVID, but I started started my morning with the gratitude of what I appreciated from the day before. And I would listen to I don't know what you would call her, a spiritual, I guess, leader or whatever while I did that. And it just had me kind of start the day on a positive note. And I was walking and then I kind of fell off the wagon that way. So I want to implement that again. And I find it's helpful, and I guess maybe this is like a buddy system, but not exactly. I find it's helpful. I'm always trying to get my husband to eat better. So because I have that in mind, I'm eating better, because if I'm looking after him, I feel like I'm doing, something, and then I in turn win both ways. I feel better because I'm eating better, and I feel better because I'm making him feel better. So that's what I do. And I had one thing, you said something that made me think right away of that cliche, change your words, change your world. And it is true, right? Like,
Absolutely.
when you're talking, if you just change it around, it makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Well said.
That's good. It's just sometimes just getting there to learn how to use those words, right? So, and having that support system around you is so important. Thank you, Pam, for sharing that. Loria, would you mind saying hello? And
Hi. Yeah. So at our office, we've just started, well, I guess maybe about a month ago, walk and talk. So we take turns to go out at lunch and just do 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a walk just to get out. It's been tough if it's been very cold, but we still try to go out. We dress for it. And we do have two in our office that are sugar fanatics, but they do hide their stash in their office so that it's not out in the open for us who don't have control, which is very thoughtful of them. But yeah, we do enjoy the walk and talks, and we do kind of switch it up so it's not always the same people all the time. You get to know everybody in the office, which is
excellent.
good.
I've seen you guys a lot walking down there, and I'm jealous. Yes, yes. Very good. Thank you, Loria. Marnie? Hiding behind the CBOT logo there. Hello.
Hi. For me, I guess my routine is I try and work out every morning. If I don't, I don't try and beat myself up about it. I'll just do it tomorrow or the next day. And my worst habit, I don't know if that's what you want to call it, is the food prep. I'm not organized to plan what I'm going to eat. So sometimes it does kind of fall off the wagon, and it's just throw together something. But I know when I do plan 3 or 4 meals for that week, I feel better. I'm organized. I'm not running around at 5 o'clock thinking, what am I going to make that's somewhat healthy? And I'm trying to walk. Again, I really have to force myself to go out and walk.
Yeah, even just get up, just move those legs from the kitchen to wherever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Move your legs. Yes, for sure. Thanks, Marnie. Appreciate that. Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Lisa's not having it. Okay, that's okay. Okay. Oh, there she is.
Hi, I'm here actually, but you know what? I'm off on Friday, so I'm in my jammies.
Oh, that.
Good for you.
So actually I work with Loria is actually Kathy. I don't know why she's coming up as Loria, but Kathy and I work together as well at QNL in Bowmanville. So adding to what Kathy was saying about our walk and talks, which wasn't just about getting out and walking, but it was also about just connecting with our other co-workers.
Yeah.
So that's been a really great thing that we have done there. And we're all really I think we're kind of all on the same page when it comes to eating well and exercising. So that really helps. so we can feed off of each other.
That's great.
And we do that a lot. And we've done other things in our office, like prior to COVID, we had someone come in and we were doing yoga once a week in the office. We're a very small office. There's only a few people, but so we had someone coming in and doing yoga. Yeah. So anyways, we've done quite a few things like that. And that's all I have.
That's a great idea. Having that support system again is so important.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
That's great. Thank you very much, Lisa.
And thank you. This has been a really great,
Good.
it's been a really great, good information.
For sure.
Good.
Thank you. Gregory. Give me a minute. Maybe he's in his jammies too.
Yeah.
Okay. If Gregory's not there, the last is I think it's Eileen.
Yeah.
From East Penn, I think. Yeah. Thank you, East Penn family, for joining us today.
So actually, you know, I do tend to work some overtime, I have to admit, but I like to finish what I have at work and leave the laptop here and not bring it home. So that's one thing I'm trying to do and continue to do. People were talking about food and all that. I really do try to plan my lunches out. So I bring lunch every day. One thing prior to COVID, you know, I used to make a point of going to the lunchroom. Well, because of course we had to do all the social distancing, I've done more eating in my office as a result. But now that, you know, things are starting to get back to somewhat normal, I do hope to get back to the lunchroom because it is an opportunity to actually meet and greet the new employees and, you know, chat with the others and so on. So I think that's important. You know, so you get out of your own little zone. And it's something like Wendy was saying, you know, you're working away and you can forget everything that's around you if you're not careful. So, and actually I try and get out for a hike on the weekends, usually a good long couple-hour hike. So that's always helpful to get some fresh air, clear the mind.
Very good. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with that, Eileen, and with us. And I think we got a lot of tips from our friends today. So thank you everybody for sharing your indulgences, your habits, your you know. Now I want to go get peanut M&Ms today, Rhonda, for some reason. I don't know why. But and again, what's resonating is that support from others as well, because a lot of people need that support from others. It's really hard to do that yourself, right?
Oh.
You know, speaking of support, so the Clarington Board of Trade, we're here to support you too in any way, even if you need a little bit of you know, rejuvenation and that kind of positive thinking path. We're here to help. Rhonda's here. I know pertaining to that health perspective, Michelle from Live Well Exercise Clinic was here earlier, and there are fellow members too that can help you get where you want to be mentally, physically. So we're here for you. So I want to thank you again, Rhonda, for your time today, and what a great way to start the weekend, spending that morning with you and everybody who came out today. I really appreciate it. I do want to mention that our next Breakfast Club, thank you, Hearts, thank you, Pam, sharing the love. And next month, we're going to actually have Inspector Stephanie Finateri. So she's the new inspector for Durham Region Police Services, East Division here in Bowmanville. So she's going to be joining us and giving us a little update about community safety, some statistics. And I think they're going to be talking about their body cam program, how that kind of changed the culture of DRPS and how they interact with the community as well. So it's going to be really interesting. And she's opening it up to questions pertaining to any safety issues around where you work as well. So she'll give us that update. Thank you again very much, everybody. Stay healthy. Don't be too hard on yourself, and have a great weekend. And let's hope it's going to be a nicer week next week, temperature wise. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Have a great
you.
weekend.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.